Hi y'all. I figured out where we could do X Day, where it wouldn't cost us nearly as much as going to Wisteria. Right here at Stang Ranch, we have this old cattle pen that hasn't been used. Of course, you know, it doesn't look like it'd be good for much now, but if we covered it all with tarps and maybe hung some space blankets around along the sides of it, it'd be like little huts. Couldn't quite stand up in there unless we put a tinted roof on it, but that's a lot of trouble for a bunch of bobbies. Because that is right next to this big old barn up here. This lovely scenic rustic barn, an old hay barn. But you know, if it rained, we could have our show in there. There's a big haystack where the bands could play on top of. Now see, this big pile of rocks here could be the dining room. So there's lots of seating, and they can even do fossil hunting here. Of course, they'll have to pay us for it if they find anything, and give it to us also. You know, it would maybe be the dining room. They'd have to be careful at night because of the cactus that are just everywhere. So that's a majestic looking old barn, isn't it? That'd be a great place to have a concert. They could drink beer in there if they brought some beer. Why, an industrious Bobby could make a guitar out of this old car part covered with lichen. Lovely scenic view. There's plenty of parking. Yeah, now see, we could stack those hay bales up a little bit nicer, and there'd be a bandstand. Bands could be up on there, and it's got shade where the roof hasn't been torn off. There's shade, and that's good because we are talking about July, and it will be 110 degrees here. Maybe a little hotter inside this metal structure. We could clean it up a little bit so that they wouldn't get as much gangrene. Hey, what are you? And if you're the kind of Bobby that likes to roll in dead mice, there's that. And of course, there's snakes to keep them on their toes. It's just kind of a backstage over here. And we have a bar over there using those old cattle feeding stations. Yeah, it's X Day ready. Sure would be cheaper for us. And I wouldn't charge them much. I mean, we'd charge them the 35 bucks, we always do, but for the camping and parking, we wouldn't charge more than about $12.50 a day. 15 a day if you get ice. One bag of ice a day. And we'll have hot dog buns. They'll have to bring their own hot dogs. And they'll probably have to bring their own water. I don't think there is any water down here. Yeah, there's a sound booth. See that old truck? The sound man could sit in there and, you know, feel fancy because he'd be looking out at the audience and doing his mixing. And we'll tell people that the roof looks like this on purpose, that this was a design choice, you know, to make it look authentic. Yeah, this would be a great place to have an X Day. We have the band up there on the hay, the bar over there with the cattle feeding equipment. This is the backstage party area for the five cool people. Yeah, this would be a good place to have X Day. This is Reverend Ivan Stang at Stang Ranch, Stangsville, Texas. Praise Bob. And another great thing about that old barn that majestic barn is, it's actually really close to the big house. You can't see the house because it's hidden from Bobby's up there, but it's just right up the hill. I'd be the only one allowed to drive, I guess. And, unless if somebody had an emergency, I could take them up to I'd let them drive out. If they got bit by a snake, I'd let them take the car out. Otherwise, we don't want people raising dust on this old gravel road. Actually, come to think of it, you can't really safely get an ordinary car down here. So the parking lot idea isn't really going to work, because only four-wheel drive vehicles can deal with this road. It doesn't look so bad right here, but it's quite rough. I wouldn't take my van down this. But the Bobbies can walk on it easy enough. They'll walk fast because it's so hot. They'll be wanting to get to the shade. And of course see the bands. Of course they'll find out that they are the bands. Better hope they sound okay. If they don't, it's their fault. Those dogs remind me of the Bobbies a little bit. They just gotta get where they're going. They just know if they follow this trail, they're gonna get to the good stuff, and the cool guys and cool chicks. If they could just get off their leash and run. I know how it is. I know how it is. For our real special guests, like Dr. Hal, Susie the Floozy, we'll give them the option of staying in the MGM Grand. This actually has 2 rooms. I don't know if you can see the chairs up in there. But see, we have this Atlantean altarpiece and a little fossil museum, because the altarpiece is encrusted with fossils. And then there's 2 rooms up there. Each of them have 2 chairs and lots of space to lay down, because we cleared these little clearings out. And we actually have 9 stations like that around the ranch. Those would be where our private VIP guests got to stay. They wouldn't even have to pay any more than anybody else. The bedrock of this road is fossiliferous. You probably can't, it's hard to tell if you're not an expert, but this is basically made of shells. 100 million year old deep sea life. I'll give lectures for only like 10 or 20 bucks. I'll take people around and show them the really good fossil beds, because there are some. If you like Cretaceous marine life fossils. And of course I don't want to say hoax museum, but the special fossil alien skeletons and fossil robot and devil skeletons from the Cretaceous and cave subgeniuses. What did you see, B? Hey, no, come on. No turd eating. No turd eating. Deer walk along these same paths. I mean, some of my paths started as deer paths, and other ones were entirely designed by me, but now the deer use them a lot. You can tell by the footprints, hoof prints, I mean. The corridor. Here's one of our amazing fossils. This is the fossil robot. You see he's got buttons on his chest. It's 100 million years old. Oops, his foot came off. 100. Never walk backwards here without looking behind you. Never walk backwards here. Okay, there's the fossil robot, 100 million years old. We think he belonged to the fossil alien. Here's some more art left behind by the Atlanteans. I'm looking backwards this time. It's the most treacherous thing. Just backing up a little bit without looking to get a better picture. Bad idea. That cliff might not have been there a minute ago. That cactus might not have been there a second ago. That rattlesnake might not have been out from under his rock yet. There's some fossilized mud. Honest, that's really what this is. It looks like cracked old mud there. It's a rock. It's a fossil of cracked, dried mud. Look, the Atlanteans had these huge stone bodies buried in the ground of their gods. Buddy, you're blocking the light. No, wait, I am too. Yeah, I take it his body is deep under the ground. Truly a colossus and an awe-inspiring expression on that thing's face. See, there's little treasures all along here. Here's some more of that fossilized mud. This is a really nice one. It's not mud, it's a rock, but it's either cracked mud or casts of cracked mud, may have now turned into rock, or it's the belly skin of the Pteranodon, which is a gigantic orange dinosaur. It was so fat that its belly dragged on the ground and had this terribly rough hide. You know, the Pteranodon. They think it had some kind of weird feathers on top of its head. And that it would blunder into things and accidentally kill other animals. That's where its diet came from. Here's another Atlantean artifact. Yeah, this is another Atlantean artifact. Oh wait, it's missing. Somebody's been monkeying with it. I think their name is Deer. Yeah, there, he looks better now. Interesting design, the way they viewed their gods in the sunken continent of Atlantis, which is where we are. This is the site of Atlantis. It was a shallow ocean 100 million years ago that the city sank in a terrible disaster. You see, the big house is just right up there. It's air conditioned in there.